Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of You Season 4, Part 2, the finale. There's no beating around the bush here. This wasn't good. It was a mess. It was bad.
Oh
It was
my
like,
God.
what happened, guys? What happened?
Who did this? It was like the first half of this season was a 10 out of 10. If you watched our video, we were just like, amazing,
Yeah.
so good. This is one of the best seasons ever since season one. If they keep on this path, it could be the best season. And then I do not know who took the steering wheel and was like, let's make this super complicated and bring in Reese as like this person that's been talking to Joe and like we've never met him before. Now all of a sudden he's so important. Like I just like Nadia, like this character didn't need to exist. Like she's just coincidentally knows everything. It's just like stop. All of a sudden Adam is the worst villain ever. No.
Okay.
This wasn't good.
Tinfoil hat time. We're admitted in here.
Oh my God, we wearing our tinfoil hats. They're trying to cancel their own show.
Okay, that's not where I was going. However,
Okay, no.
this is what I will say this though. I think they knew that the second half of this was a dumpster fire, so they were just sort of like,
Oof.
let's release the first
You being
half.
kind.
Yeah, let's make people excited about the show, and then we'll just sneak the second half in, and then just like, okay, people probably gonna hate this, but maybe we're gonna renew it, or maybe we'll do something else to get people excited about a potential season 5, so they'll just forget this ever happened.
Yeah, it'll be interesting with the way that this ended if there is going to be season 5 or what they're going to be doing with it. This has been recorded before if
Yeah.
there was any announcements or not announcements, so just so you guys know in case it's already been renewed and you guys are leaving it in the comments, this has been recorded in advance. So as of the point of this
Yes.
recording, there has been no renewal or cancellation, but they definitely ended this season in a way that if there is no renewal, it's ended in a way that is somewhat satisfying.
All right. Well, we are going to go into all the ways that this season, or the second part of this season, did not work, was a mess, completely undid everything they did that was good in the first half.
Goodness, what?
But hit that subscribe button, because you know what? We will be here to break down and talk about a lot of other great TV shows this month. I mean, coming up later on, there is Succession.
Mhm.
There is Yellow Jackets.
Yep.
There's so much good stuff. Like we're covering Snowfall. We're covering Power Book 2 Ghost. You don't want to miss any of this.
Mandalorian,
Yeah.
Survivor. There's all kinds of great stuff going on here at the channel. So hit that subscribe button, stick with
Yeah.
us, and also follow us over on Instagram, which is Matt and Jess TV.
Okay. The biggest reason why the second half was a disaster to me. Don't insult my intelligence, Derek. Okay, I'm making a Bachelor in Paradise reference that like 2 people out there will get, but don't insult my intelligence in sort of doing a twist like this. If it's like, it reminds me of Mr. Robot. I'm sure for those of you who watch Mr. Robot, you remember there was like this big twist halfway through one of the seasons where it turns out Elliot was not anywhere where it seemed like he was, and it's just sort of like, oh, look how smart we are. Look how we've crafted all. It's just like, if you're going to do something like this where it turns out Marion's been in the box the whole time or whatever else, it has to be the greatest, most epically delivered twist ever for me to get on board with it. Otherwise, it just feels like I've been wasting my time.
No, I agree. Like, it's fine to have movies or TV shows that have like an unreliable narrator where
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's like it's completely not what you thought it was. It was Reese the whole time. Joe has had a psychotic break and he thinks that he's watching some author on YouTube that he's having a parasocial relationship with, and he
Yeah.
thinks that he's telling him to kill people. And we've seen that work really well on movies like Usual Suspects and Fight Club. Sorry
Yeah.
if I'm ruining that for anybody, but those those movies are like 20 years
Yeah.
old. If you haven't seen them by now, I'm sorry.
Their fault.
Yeah, but it's like for watching this show for
Yeah.
as many seasons as we have, to have it turn out to be like some author that he's watching interviews with on YouTube is now like dictating everything he's doing, and he doesn't remember what he's doing. Like, I was just like, no, like this reveal doesn't make sense for everything else that's going on. If he was just having like blackouts,
Yeah.
with a psychotic break, I'd believe it more than he's talking to Reese, a character we just met that I mean, I just didn't care about him enough for me to feel that there was a connection between them because there wasn't. It was just someone he's watching on YouTube. And I understand that, like, in life, I mean, we even saw this with Phoebe, where she had, a fan watching her on her social media and was like, now we're the besties. We have these
Yeah.
tattoos and, I know you. And sure, that happens. But like, now we had it happen twice in the last half of this whole season where like Phoebe's had this crazy parasocial relationship fan, and now we have this going on with Joe where he doesn't even know what's going on. Like it didn't make sense. And that wasn't even the part that I just didn't like the most.
Yeah, that
And it was bad.
it just completely undid the entire first half of the season, because the whole fun of the first half of the season to me was the game of Clue that was going on. And
Yes.
who was the murderer, how did they do it, where were they, like all of that sort of stuff. And so I was all in on the idea of Joe versus Reese, and Reese being like this real legitimate sort of killer, and we were going to get like this Dexter versus the Trinity killer sort of showdown in the second part. Like I thought that could have been so fun, and it's just like I don't need this show to be a look how smart we are show.
Yeah, no, like it could have been so good if it was Joe versus Reese.
Yeah.
But it also could have been well done and good if it was Joe versus Joe. If Reese wasn't there, all those conversations he was having with Reese that he really was having with himself, I would have taken it in better and been like, wow, this was so wonderfully done and could have been written so well if it was Joe having these conversations with himself. I mean, he's been the narrator of this show this whole time. So
Yeah.
it's something that we're all familiar with. We all really like, it just would have hit differently for me where he was trying to retrace his own steps and figure out how this all happened. He could have stumbled across the idea that Marion was in the cage the whole time and that he did this. And I was actually fine with that. I didn't expect that he necessarily let her go. And, if he had and he was trying to prove to himself that he was this better person, I would have believed that. Him actually going after her after he tried to let her go and put her in the cage, I believe that too. That's his pattern. But him having sort of this psychotic break where he's just like, now I don't even remember doing it. That would have been believable, more believable without Reese. Nah.
It was too much. It was too much. It was too broad. It was too show offy for this. Because the whole point of this show is that it's just sort of like escapism and ridiculousness. And like, not everything always makes sense. I think it is safe for us all to collectively agree on that. But it's kind of fun to have a show that doesn't make you think too hard about things all the time. But it's just like, try to understand this. It just makes my brain hurt.
All right, let's talk about the part of the show that worked before we get to the Nadia of it all, because, oh, Lord,
okay.
we have a lot to go into with that. But the part that worked was the relationship with Kate. That was great. In the first half, it was great. In the second half, where it finally came to light, where she was like, yeah, remember I told you about all those kids and what my father did?
Yeah.
It was actually, I did that. And having that admission where she was just like, and I'm trying to be this better person, Joe admitting what he's done and her being like, listen, we both done these things. Let's keep each other accountable to be good people and move forward is exactly what Joe has been looking for. So I was like, okay, this ending where he's with Kate, he's with someone who's willing to keep him accountable. He feels like he can keep her accountable. So he feels like he's doing good too. I was like, okay, this could be a thing that could maybe actually stop him from killing people. But then he sees Reese again in this window where he's basically like, I now have permission to do whatever I want. I was like, what? Wait, what? Oh my goodness. You guys went in this direction that made a lot of sense. And now all of a sudden it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's like, once again, they have this time they managed to undo their twist in a matter of minutes, as opposed to like the first 5 episodes being completely undone. Where, I think Reese, even if you're going to go with this construct, I think he should have been gone. at that point. Like I like Kate well enough as a character that the idea of her and Joe moving forward could have been something very, very interesting, especially with the fact that Marianne is still out there,
Yep.
and that's sort of this big dangling loose end where, okay, here's the other thing that I liked. Best inclusion of Taylor Swift's song Anti-Hero
Okay.
that I think we've ever heard. Well, while all this is going on, the lyric, I'm the problem, it's me, and Joe is just like sitting there. It's just like, you guys probably paid like $3 million for this song, but you know what? It was worth it. It almost made me forget about how awful everything else was.
All right, let's get into the Nadia of it all. Everybody put on your hard hats and hit that subscribe button because we are here talking about all kinds of fun shows. Okay,
yeah.
listen, but
Yeah.
oh my God, Nadia. Okay, so they brought in this character, and I said this in the first
Yeah.
review we did. I was just like, this character doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
She's here to explain to Joe how a murder mystery novel
Yeah.
works. Like, no,
Yeah.
no. Now she's here apparently to be like a super sleuth. Like,
Yeah.
too many things that she's just like, this is conveniently here. I'm able to get this key, and conveniently I'm in front of this Indian food restaurant, and conveniently I have figured out across the street is where Marianne is. I'm just like, okay, this is so unbelievable.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. And while that was so unbelievable, the thing that was the most unbelievable is that she goes down there and sees Marianne, and Marianne's like, please don't call the cops. He's going to just come after me forever. And Nadia's like, okay, let me kill him for you. I was like, under no circumstances is Marianne going to be locked up in that box for that long, and she's gonna be like, please don't call the cops. He's just gonna get away with it. How is he gonna get away with it? You bring the cops down there, she's in a box. Like, how is he gonna get away with that? I just don't believe it for a second.
It's the ultimate writing cop-out. And
It's so bad.
It happens with so many shows too, where it's like, the problem could always just be solved if you call the police and bring it, but they're like, no, we have to find a way to make this as complicated as possible.
Or bring in tons of witnesses, bring in lots of people so that, this isn't just like, don't call the cops, don't help me. Like, it's so weird.
I do feel bad for the actress playing Nadia, because I feel like she did the best job that she could with the material that was given to her, but I think she's going to be subject to a lot of just not great commentary online, because this character is terrible. It's just really a function of, even if, let's say Nadia was Nancy Drew, and that she's coming into this with all this experience, like solving crimes and being this amateur. Even if it was Nancy Drew, I would have a hard time believing all this. But you're expecting, me as a viewer to believe that Nadia, who has not been set up really to have, like, other than just like knowing crime novels, to have like a lot field experience doing any of this stuff, is going to be the person who undoes Joe Goldberg, who has been pulling this you-know-what even before the days of Guinevere Beck. Like, he has been in this business for a good while. I don't buy for a second that she was able to do any of this. I don't buy for a second that she would not call the cops. I don't buy any part of this. The only thing that I will say is I remember there was a shot of like that secret lair next to the Indian food place in the first half. I was like, that's a pretty weird looking building. What's going on there? But that's all I really thought about it. So, like, all of a sudden, Nadia is the most intelligent person known to mankind. It's just, no, it did not work. It was rushed. It was bad. It didn't have to be there. There would have been another way to do it.
And the way that they had it together, where Nadia's all of a sudden willing to kill for Marianne, she just met her. Like, it's such a stretch. It was so weird. And then they're just like, let's come up with a plan A, a plan B to get me out of here. And it has to be super complicated to, pretend that, Marianne's daughter's getting taken away, and that, she's unalived herself, and then Joe's gonna pull her out of there and leave her body on a bench. Like, none of this made any sense. Then we've got Nadia telling her boyfriend everything. They've been dating like a minute. And he's just like, okay. I was just like, oh, wow, you're very understanding, sir. Oh, my goodness.
No kidding.
And then he ends up getting killed. Joe's like, put out your hand, Nadia. Let me put your hand on this knife. You're going to go to jail for this. I was just, this second half of the
Yeah.
season was so bad. Like, really one of the worst halves of the seasons I've ever seen. It was so poorly put together. Shockingly bad.
Yeah, and I don't.
And I hate saying that because I love this show.
Yeah,
I've been, a fan of the show a long time.
yeah.
It's just, it was shocking.
Like it, I hope that they can find a way to pull it back together if there's another season, because they completely just unraveled so much. I think they were so desperate to try to make sure that this season did not feel like any other season out there, because I know a show like this could end up being repetitive when it's just sort of Joe pursuing various women in different parts of the world. And I get all of that, but it didn't need to swing this far to where it felt like a completely different show at times. And you guys, I mean, good on you, I guess, for bringing back and bringing back love for like tiny cameos and all of that. But it's like, that doesn't really take away from the fact that you guys just went so far into unbelievable territory when you really didn't need to do that. And you completely ignored, by the way, some of the fun characters you brought up in the first half. Like, where was Rold, who was busy being like hunting Joe in the forest in the first, and now he's like barely there.
Yeah, now he's like, I'm going on a vacation. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
And, Phoebe ended up with a happy ending, which is great because
Yeah.
she's a character I think a lot of us really liked. But Adam became like such a villain all of a sudden. Like the
Yeah.
first half, yeah, he was having money problems, but he seemed to genuinely love her. And now all of a sudden he was like, oh my goodness, my money problems are so bad that now I'm going to be this horrible, marry her for money. Oh,
Yeah.
now she's been, taken away to, get better because she's had this break of her own after everything that happened with the fan.
Yeah.
That he's like now got all these different women and men in his place doing all these things and using all her money and It's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, it just felt like the first half of the season, he was just sort of like this hapless dullard who wasn't really like, he didn't seem like he really was out to do an extreme amount of harm. And now all of a sudden, he is just like this monster who's just like doing all of this like horrible, horrible stuff. Once again, you doing way too much. You don't need to do it. I don't understand it. I just really don't understand what they were setting out to do in this season in the first place, because I don't have that clear of an idea as to who Joe is really going to be or how it's going to be that different from who we've seen in the past.
No, this felt like two different seasons. Like the first half of the season felt like I was watching Glass Onion, and it was like this sort of murder mystery trying to figure
Yeah.
it out. All these really great, rich characters, rich, wealthy, rich, also just, personality wise, very interesting, fun, ridiculous. It was so well done. And then all of a sudden, the second half is like, oh, Marianne's been in the box all the time, and Joe's having, a psychotic break, and he's talking to this YouTuber in his head, and he doesn't remember what's happening. And Nadia is super detective, and like, it was just didn't work. Gosh, guys, I can't even.
Like we were rooting for you.
Thank goodness Snowfall is
I
back
know.
on. Oh my goodness.
We have to have other things to distract ourselves from what happened here. Well, if you guys firmly disagree and you love the second half of the season, feel free to let us know in the comments. And,
But we'll always be honest with you here
Yeah,
at this
no.
channel. We do not love
No,
everything.
no. And so just go ahead, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything else, and we'll see you here next time.